All right, so look, I was listening to an old lecture by Carl Jung earlier today, and he said something that cut straight through me. It literally made me stop and think about it for a good while. And he was talking about the empath and the narcissist. He said that when the empath finally snaps, it's not rage that overtakes them. It's not screaming or fighting. It's realization. It's not an explosion. It's an implosion. The soul turns inward and says no more. And when I heard that, it hit me because I realized that this isn't just a theory. This is my life. This is something I've lived. This is something I have experienced as being a neurodivergent black man living in America. So I sat with it. I let it marinate. I meditated on it. And I asked myself a question. If these are stages of an awakening, then what stage am I in? Because Jung describes something like a cycle, almost like a map. And when you hear it, I think you're going to start to recognize where you've been, where you are, and where you might be going. So the first stage is forgetting yourself. That's the empath at their most vulnerable state. That's when you give and give and give until there's nothing left of you. Confuse love with sacrifice. You confuse boundaries with selfishness. You excuse cruelty because maybe you think it's just pain in disguise. And before you know it, you're gone. You're a ghost in your own life. And then eventually comes the snap. The soul has a limit. You can only suppress yourself for so long before something deep inside says, enough. And when that happens, it isn't rage, it's awakening. It's realization. It's waking up from a bad dream and realizing you've been living a story that wasn't yours. But then comes the third stage, the descent, the shadow revolt. And this one is rough. This is where all the anger, all the grief, the fire you buried deep inside just to be nice, that's when all that erupts. This is when you mourn, not just the narcissist, not just the toxic relationship or the system, but the fantasy, the dream of what it could have been. You realize you were trying to heal someone who didn't want any healing, only control. And that realization burns. And I think that's the stage that I'm in right now. That descent, that shadow revolt. That's where I am. You see, I've already snapped. I've already walked away from situations. I've already walked away from certain jobs or systems that are obviously trying to consume me. Already said no more. But I'm still grieving. I still feel the fire rising inside of me. And I'm still learning how to carry that fire without it consuming me. And if you've ever been in this stage, then you know it's not clean. It's messy. It's lonely. And sometimes it's confusing. Because you question yourself. You feel guilt for pulling back. You feel grief for people who only love the version of you that was small. You even feel tempted to go back sometimes, just because the chaos is familiar. And that's where the descent tests you. But then there's the fourth stage, the reparenting, the individuation. This is where you start turning that compassion inward. Instead of trying to fix everyone else, you start to fix your own wounds. You start holding that inner neglected child with love. You start choosing yourself in ways that you never did before. And I can feel myself stepping into that too. It's not complete yet, but I see the signs. I'm starting to treat myself with more patience. I'm starting to forgive myself for the years that I abandoned me. I'm starting to build new grooves in my life. New choices that actually honor me. So moving on to the final stage, the fifth stage, sovereignty and integration. This is where the empath becomes whole. They don't just say they know themselves. They are themselves. They don't chase love or validation. Manipulation doesn't hook them anymore. Peace doesn't feel like boredom. It feels like power. Love isn't sacrifice anymore. It's presence. This is the stage where your sensitivity, the very thing that used to drain you, becomes your gift. It fuels your art, your vision, your teaching, your creativity. You stop being a rescuer and start being a lighthouse. You don't beg to be chosen anymore. You choose yourself. And because you do, the right people are drawn to you. People who don't need saving, but rather people who resonate with your truth. And that's the stage I plan to reach next. That's the stage I'm working toward every day. And here's why this matters. Because narcissism isn't just in relationships. It's in the culture. It's in the system that we live under. We are in a world that rewards domination over connection, performance over presence, exploitation over truth. So this empath awakening is not just personal, it's collective. A lot of us are in these stages right now. Some of us are still in the forgetting stage, giving until there's nothing left. Some of us are at the snap, where the soul says no more. Some are deep in the descent, angry, grieving, learning how to walk again. And some are moving towards sovereignty, or that grounded wholeness that nothing can shake. So I want to put the question on the table for all y'all who's watching. What stage are you in? Are you still disappearing for others? Have you snapped already? Are you grieving and burning in the descent? Or are you crossing over into sovereignty, where you finally can stand whole in yourself? Like I said, for me, I know I'm in the fire, but I'm headed towards sovereignty. So if you're listening to this and you feel yourself in these words, I want you to know that you are not broken. You're breaking through. Snapping isn't the end. It's the beginning. It's the soul saying, I refuse to die in someone else's illusion. And when we move through these stages, when we step into sovereignty, we don't just heal ourselves. We shift the whole field around us. We become mirrors of truth in a world that is built on lies. We stop feeding the system of exploitation and start living in authenticity. I think that's what Jung meant by it. It's not just knowing yourself, but becoming yourself. Not just surviving, but integrating. Not just existing, but radiating. So yeah, when I saw that old lecture, I had to sit down and think about it for a minute. After thinking about it, I thought that I should share all this with y'all. Because I don't know, maybe you needed to hear this too. Maybe you're in one of those stages right now. And if you are, keep going. Because sovereignty is possible. Wholeness is possible. Freedom is possible. And I'm telling you, that's where I'm headed.